Hello, this video is part of a course requirement for my American Revolution class at Liberty University. Welcome, fellow students, and anyone else who happens to be watching this off my YouTube page. We were given options on which article which resource we wanted to use. I chose the resource, the Reading the Bible with the Founding Fathers by Daniel Dreisbach. And when I was looking through the chapter titles, I was very much drawn to chapter 2, which is the English Bible in American Public Culture. I'm always very curious about how the Bible fits into culture. I think there are just so many ways that we can differ in how we view the Bible as a cultural guidepost, as we view it as a cultural phenomenon, I guess. I don't know. I'm also really curious about just different thought processes on using the Bible in school, because as we know, it was a non-negotiable for much of history, especially educational history, up until the last century. The section of this book that I showed, this section of Reading the Bible with the Founding Fathers that I chose within chapter 2 talks about the Bible in American education, which, as I said, is really just something that interests me. I'm pairing this with an article by Philip Schwadel called Changes in Americans' Views of Prayer and Reading the Bible in Public Schools, and a third article entitled Teaching Bible in Public High Schools Toward a Conception of Educational Legitimacy by Walter Feinberg and Richard A. Layton. And basically, the idea that the Bible was not just something to be used as a guide to behavior and to attitude, but also as a legitimate in secular circles, a legitimate resource for literature, has given way to, in the last 100 years, the attitude of it's a piece of religion that we don't need in public schools because of separation of church and state. And that's actually how Schwadel's article begins. He starts with, the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution says Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. So you have freedom of religion, but you also have separation of church and state. And so, it's been that seesaw. Where's the line? And one of the things that I think has sort of become true over the last, I don't even know how many years, but definitely since I've been teaching in the public school, which is going on 20 years. One of the things that I've seen when we talk about having prayer or the Bible in public school, it's, well, whose prayer? Are we automatically doing Christian prayer? What about Muslim prayer? What about Jewish prayer? And so I've always thought, maybe because it is a public school, because it is government funded, I think that lends itself to why we don't use the Bible as a religious resource in public schools. And the same thing with prayer. As I've read through these articles, I found that the conversation is mostly about Protestants versus people who are either agnostic, atheist, or don't tie themselves to a particular religion, who would call themselves believers, but non-religious. And of course, as those numbers have increased, the numbers of people who believe that we should put religion back in schools has decreased. Nowhere in this article does it really talk about what about other religions. It really just talks about the idea of Protestants having to come to grips with having the Bible taken out of their schools. It's interesting though to look back over 100 years ago and look at how the Bible was the pinnacle of academic textbooks. If you're going to have anything, it's going to have to be the Bible. For a long time in America, the Bible was the piece of literature, the go-to piece of literature. And it wasn't Shakespeare and it wasn't Dickens. It was the Bible. And even in public schools, it was the Bible. So I do find it, I think it's interesting. I think it's a sign of the times. Sometimes you have to wonder, is this progress? Is this really progress? As we have made progress in other areas, is this maybe one where we've gone the wrong direction? I don't know. I have a lot of mixed feelings about this entire concept, but it's a very interesting thing to research. And, I look forward to hearing some of your thoughts or reading some of your thoughts in response to my post. Thanks, everyone.